Hey all, and welcome back to another build guide. My name is Luke, and in this guide I'll be building something that doesn't go on your model layout, but every modeler should have one, and that's a good workbench. Something that's big enough to hold all the small bits and pieces you'll need at arm's length when building those fantastic models. And something that drives inspiration. You'll also want a comfy seat. So let's get started with the materials. You'll want 4 legs. These ones are 42 by 42 by 1200, that's in millimeters. Next, 3 of the large pieces of pine. These ones are 140 by 19 by 1200. You'll also need 4 of the smaller pieces measuring 89 by 19 by 1200 long. And also a large board. I'm using a piece of MDF that's 900 by 1200 and it's 19 millimeters thick, so nice and sturdy. Finally, I'll be putting wheels on the table, so you want 4 caster wheels. And 2 will need to have locks on them so the table doesn't roll away on you. The tools will vary depending on what you have available to you, but these are the tools I'll be using mostly. Obviously, if you've got the power tools, it'll make the job a little bit easier and quicker. Before I made any cuts to the wood, I drew a quick sketch to help get a clear picture of what I was aiming for. You can change the measurements to suit your needs, but so you know what I'm doing, I'll tell you what my measurements were. I'm measuring the legs at 763 millimeters. Seems like a strange number, but I'm taking into account the wheels and the bench top. Remember to take your time with the measurements, you know what they say? Measure twice and cut once. Now, because I want the tabletop to overhang the frame of the table, I'm measuring in 15 centimeters from the table's edge. I'm creating a sort of template on the bottom of the table, which I'll use to measure up and cut the pieces of pine. I use a small offcut from one of the legs to help stencil in where the legs for the table will fit. I trace the leg on the inside corner and do this for all 4 corners. Next, I measure the distance between the inside edge of where the legs will go. For the side piece, it measures 512 millimeters. And the longer piece is 815 millimeters. Once you have them cut to length, you can test fit them and make sure your measurements are correct. In order to screw the legs to the side braces, we need to mark the center of the leg posts and mark the position of the brace against the leg. On these top braces, we want the top of the pine to be flush with the top of the legs. We also need to offset the screws so they don't hit each other when screwing into the side braces. When you're ready to drill the holes, try brace the legs in a position to make it easy for you to drill straight down. The holes need to be pretty accurate in order to meet up with the side braces. The screws I'm using are 50 millimeters long. I'll need to countersink the screws far enough into the legs so they get a good grip on the side brace. I'm countersinking them by 15 millimeters. A little trick I learnt: when you need to drill to a specific depth, you can mark the drill with the pen at the desired depth, in this case 15 millimeters, and when the drill is spinning you'll be able to see the mark and you'll know when to stop drilling. Here I'm using the hole I drilled through the leg as a bit of a guide to make a mark on the side brace so I can pre-drill the hole for the screw. Now all I have to do is put the screws into the legs, line up the holes, add a little bit of glue and screw the legs onto the side braces. Do this for all 4 top braces and then again do this for the 3 bottom braces. Just make sure you don't put a brace across the front and also don't glue the lower rear brace. The reason you don't glue the rear brace is if you want to get the table through a tight door, you may need to turn the table on its side and go through one set of legs at a time. And to do that, you'd need to remove the bottom rear brace. That completes the main frame, and now to fix the tabletop on. In order to fix the frame of the table to the tabletop, I trace the frame onto the bottom of the tabletop, and then I mark out where the screws will go. For the screws that drill into the legs, I make sure to put them off center, or you may end up screwing into one of the other screws that are holding one of the side braces onto the leg. I'm using the frame at the moment to place the bench top on while I drill the holes. Just be careful you don't accidentally drill into the table frame while you do this. And once all the holes are drilled, I'll line up the bench top with the tracing of the frame we did earlier and drill into the frame using the holes I just drilled as my guide. I make sure all the screws are countersunk just enough to be below the level of the tabletop. Now for the final touch. To add the wheels, I found the legs were not wide enough, so I cut out these blocks from the offcuts and drilled and glued them to the bottom of the leg. This way I could screw the caster wheels on properly. Because the screws will be so close to the edge of the wood, it's very important to pre-drill the holes for the screws, otherwise the wood will definitely split and the wheels will fall off. Now for the moment of truth. Works like a charm. And as you can see, it's a perfect size for working on your models and other projects. And what's great about this table is that when the tabletop gets all messed up and damaged, you can just take it off and put on a new tabletop. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the build. I try and post as many videos as I can, so if you want to stay up to date with my latest releases, please subscribe. And I have plenty more videos and ideas on the way. In the meantime, feel free to check out the channel and see if there's anything else there that you like. Cheers and thanks for watching.